Hello, Internet. How are we, my friends? It's been a while, and I apologize. It's been a good amount of time. This is the longest break I've taken, I think. All right, Scarlett is eagerly awaiting to say hi to you. I guess she missed you guys. I guess. Wally, good to see you. I really do apologize, you guys. It's been quite a while since I've been gone. Oh, Scarlett. All right, can you go? No, you're not coming up here. Can you go lay down? All right, go lay down, please. Nope, nope. Some things never change, folks. Go lay down. Go lay down. Thank you. Good dog. All right. Well, B Sizzo, nice to see you. Wally World. She specifically missed you, my friend. Yeah, it's been like 10 days since I've been gone. It's been a bit of a stressful 10 days. I put up a post. I guess I should sort of address the elephant in the room for those of you who care. I put up a post sort of explaining why I took a break and what I was doing and everything. And it didn't go viral, and I'm glad because I didn't want it to. But a lot of people commented, a lot of people DM'd, and it was it was a lot more to take on because I posted it and then just sort of took a break. I just unplugged, which I never do. I never just completely unplugged from the internet, but I did and went on a run. Just tried to figure stuff out because, I mean, yeah, I might as well just hang it out there. I kind of did with the post. I'm in the eat shit phase of sort of reinventing myself, if you will. I put out the post talking about how, when I say I've been canceled, I'm not exaggerating when I say this. People won't hire me. It's not just from my other career, not just the residential audio video side of things. It's there's no union work. Well, yes, it is important to take breaks from the madness, but that's not really why I took a break. I don't like taking a break from the madness. I'm built for the madness. That's the thing is I love being down in the muck and the mire and being down the rabbit hole all day long, being in as many Twitter spaces as I can possibly be in, knowing all the stuff that's going on, the trending topics, and just really trying to stay up to speed on things, and then also doing things on the back end with people that I've met through my campaign, trying to work on California specific problems and legitimately, not that I can, but trying to save this state, because I firmly believe that if California doesn't make it, America's not going to make it. As much as the rest of the country likes to say, they can't wait till California falls into the sea and all that kind of stuff, and they want California to secede from the union and all that stuff. If that happens, we no longer have America. We no longer have a country, not the same country. It's not America anymore. California is part of this country and we're kind of connected to it as well. So you can't just detach. Same thing with Texas. Same thing with any state, really. If any state decided to secede from the union, we are no longer America. It's not the same thing anymore. Not to mention how many things come from California. All of the tech that you guys use, so much of it comes from California. The food that we grow here. Not to mention that it's sort of a beautiful place. And the only thing that makes it terrible is government and the insane progressives as well. But there's not as many as people think that are out here. Anyway, that is my mission, to shine a giant spotlight on all the things that are going on with California that seem to get suppressed by the news outlets, that people seem to be blind to, that don't want to pay attention to. How, our open borders, the fentanyl that's allowed to be dealt, the homelessness issues that is just allowed to run rampant in the name of harm reduction, the violence, the theft, everything that's going on with this state, that are all because of basically liberal policies, progressive policies, not even liberal policies. And I love doing this. This is what I love doing. And well, it's almost ironic that you guys, I've been turned down by Best Buy, where I worked for 12 years. I worked for Magnolia, that was owned by Best Buy. I worked for them for 12 years. They won't take me back. Home Depot, that was one of my first jobs. I applied for Home Depot. And I'm not saying I'm too good for any of that type of work or anything like that. I'm not trying to be a snob. I mean, yeah, you do need to take what you can get. The thing is, you Google my name. I'm assuming this is what it is, that people just do a little bit of background on me and they see my online presence. They see that I've been on Tucker. I got a freaking IMDb. I don't know how that happened, but it's easy to see that I am not with the whole social governance crap, the diversity, equity, and inclusion crap. I speak out against the trans agenda. It's, all the stuff that I talk about doesn't help with hiring. And, a lot of the comments were, like Kevin Dalton here, who I love. He's great. There's a lot of people that commented are people that I highly respect and know really well. Well, I mean, know really well through this online community that we've sort of developed here. But it's, there seems to be an assumption that I haven't been trying to find work for the last year and a half. And I have been applying at, Costco, grocery. I got turned down by a grocery store. And I get ghosted. I'll go through interviews and people just won't call me back because I know exactly what happens. I go through the interview. Everything goes great. My resume is extremely impressive for audio, video, and then they ghost me. I had a job I thought for sure that I was going to get at a little local Christian organization over here, does zip lines and crap like that. And they needed an audio video supervisor guy. And it didn't pay well at all. I was way overqualified for the position. And from my understanding, they haven't even hired anybody. They ghosted me. And I'm not trying to be all woe is me or anything, but it does seem like, not that some call's been put out on me, though I think maybe it has been with the high-end audio video industry. I work directly for tech executives. I work directly in their homes. One of the owners of the company that I worked for previously, you guys probably know the name of him. He was a blind investor, and he's plugged in to all of those. If I said the names of the homes that I used to work in, you guys would know who these people are. And I burned a lot of bridges. And then union work. Before COVID, there wasn't enough sound and communications guys to fill all the jobs that were in the Bay Area. The tech companies around here, Google, Amazon, Facebook, eBay, Apple, these companies are everywhere, and they have campuses and buildings everywhere. Every single building has conference rooms, has video walls, all hands rooms, meeting rooms where they got to have projectors and screens and distributed audio, digital signage, and all that kind of stuff. That's all the stuff that I did. Tech companies aren't building anymore. They're not doing this stuff. Everybody got sent home, work from home, and a lot of it hasn't come back. And tech companies aren't doing tenant improvements. They're not building conference rooms, where everybody gets together to meet. That was what I did right before COVID started. Specifically conference rooms, big conference room table, microphones either hanging above or built into the table or sit on top of the table, speakers in the ceiling, 2 TVs right there, the ability to plug in your computer and share on screen, all that kind of stuff. That's what I built. That's what I did. They're not doing that anymore. On top of that, I should say hi. Hi, Casey Martin, Northside, all you guys. Nice to see you guys. It's been a while. On top of all of that, California state law, it became California state law somewhat recently, where all of the new contracts have to have 80% of the hours that they bill have to go towards not just union people, but union people that went through the apprenticeship program. Not all union people went through the apprenticeship program. I came into the union with all of my experience, and you can have X amount of hours and you can join the union and be on book 4. And then if you pass the tests, you can be on book 1. And that's what I did. I went through an apprenticeship, but it was for a private company. It was through Magnolia. I was an apprentice for 3 years. And, well, I didn't go through the sound and communications apprenticeship, which there are advantages to doing that. You learn about all sorts of other trades too, like fire alarm and, data, even though I know a lot about data because that's what we did. But you learn all sorts of other stuff as well. But I didn't do that. So now 80% of the hours that these new any new contracts come up, they have to be billed towards people that went through the apprenticeship. Since I didn't, I'm at a huge disadvantage now. And it's insane because I've been doing this for 18 years. And this is a California state policy. This isn't anywhere else in the country. It might be some other states that do that too, but it's California lockdowns have destroyed trades. And then, this policy where people, so I'm in the process of going through this thing called the Skilled and Trained program, which makes it so you're basically, you've gone through the apprenticeship. It's going through the apprenticeship without going through the apprenticeship, but it takes lots of hours. It's lots of work on the back end, and I'm doing that on the back end. And well, I guess this is a long-winded way of saying it's like everything is sort of forcing me into doing what I love. Ironically, RGS, what's up, man? This is what I want to do. To be quite frank, I sort of hated what I did before. I mean, I was good at it. I like tech. I like, knowing how to do all that stuff. But the people around here, whether I'm working in a high-end executive's home or I'm working at these tech companies, you guys know my politics. You guys know how I think. They hate me. And it sucks working for people that hate you. And tech people don't really speak nicely to people that get dirty for a living, even though what's funny is a lot of the union people make more money than a lot of the tech people. But that's aside from the point. I sort of hated what I did before. You get talked down to all the time. Tommy Grave, nice to see you, man. Yeah, it's a grind. It's a grind. But the whole time I'd been doing this for the last like 4 or 5 years, I talked to my best friend on the phone for like 2 hours. We just talk about all the crazy shit that's going on in the world. And I used to just say to him, like, dude, we just got to do this on the internet. We just got to talk on the internet and have these conversations because they're funny conversations that we have. We talk about all sorts of interesting topics. And I've been wanting to make a podcast for a long time. I've been trying to get him to do it with me for years. I tricked him into doing one podcast on here with me, but I after all this is like, okay, well, I have everything I need. I have the time. I'm going to start my own thing. And I did. And tonight's episode 150. And some of you guys appear to actually enjoy this show. So it's like I'm being funneled into this. Like I finally feel like I'm doing something with purpose now, even though I make about $1,000 a month doing this. That's what I make. And crunching all the numbers and looking at just the bare essentials, what I need to get by. I'll tell you guys what my finances are. My rent is $1,800 a month, which is dirt cheap around here. It's dirt cheap. My rent hasn't gone up in 5 years. My landlord's very cool. And a lot of the advice was like, move and get roommates and all that kind of thing. I live in a 500 square foot place. I can't get roommates. I have 2 parking spots down there and it's in the middle of the forest. I can't get roommates. It's danger. What up, man? So getting roommates isn't an option. Moving out of state. I mean, it costs thousands of dollars to move out of state. Not to mention I have a bit of a car situation. You guys know I had 3 cars. I had a Subaru. It blew up on me. The transmission blew up on me. My 79 Chrysler, well, that's just constant problems, but I love that car. And then I have a 1970 AMC Ambassador station wagon that I got like 25 grand in. People are like, well, so you're like, my wagon, I could probably get like between 5 and 10 grand for. I've got 25 grand invested in that car. And that's sort of like my investment. I can't buy a house. So since classic cars appreciate in value, that's been what I've been investing money in over the last 10 years in that silly car. And I love that car. So I would have to take a huge loss on it if I sold it. So I'm getting tons of advice about, sell your cars, move out of state, all that kind of stuff. And my thing is that stuff that I would be running from here in California, wherever I move, it's going to get there eventually. That's what people don't seem to get, is everything that starts in California ultimately spreads to the rest of the country. And if I run from it here, I'm just going to have to face it again in 5-6 years, whatever. And this is my home. This is where I was born and raised, and I know this place like the back of my hand. And I firmly believe that if California falls, the rest of the country will fall, and this place needs to be saved. And I finally feel like I'm actually fighting back and doing something about it. Am I making mistakes? Absolutely. Am I kind of retarded? Absolutely. But I genuinely feel like this is what I'm supposed to be doing. So if I can find a way to do this, whatever little side jobs around here that I round up, because I still do side work. I still do audio, video stuff. It's just I'm not working for a company. So it's kind of, the work is sporadic. My buddy owns a small integration company, and he hits me up every now and then to go do work for him. You know, it's little side jobs, but things are hard to come by right now. So that's sort of what my whole that whole post was about. It was just sort of explaining to you guys why I took a big old break. And yeah, I needed to figure shit out, because it really got, I mean, I'll be real with you guys. I got like $1,000 to my name. It's, I mean, shit is real every single month, but for some strange reason, I think this will take off at some point. I mean, call me crazy, but I've spent the last 8 years just trying to figure out what's going on and paying attention. And I'm not a genius, but I'm up to speed on a lot of stuff. I'm paying attention to a lot of stuff. I've met a lot of people that, like yesterday, I talked to this scientist that I met that I have no business talking to. And I talked to him for about an hour on the phone about offshore wind yesterday. And that's sort of what this episode is going to be about, if I can ever actually start talking about it. But I get invited to speaking events and that kind of thing. And I don't know why, but people seem to value my opinion, or they tune in because I've found out about stuff that other people, that the majority of people don't know about. All you guys already do. Most of you guys already know everything that I'm going to be talking about. But there's people out there that aren't really paying that close attention. They can't, they don't know that California is planning on putting a bunch of giant windmills the size of the Eiffel Tower out in Morro Bay in deep water. And they don't know that, they don't understand why electricity has gotten so expensive. They don't understand why gas has gotten so expensive and all that kind of stuff. And I would like my job to be to find out, expose the lies that Gavin Newsom and the legislature and everybody's saying, because they do all of this stuff. Everything that they say that they're doing, it's the exact opposite of what they're doing. They say, you know, we're the whole ESG crap. We're fighting back against racism and transphobia and acceptance and tolerance, except, you know, if you're a white Christian male, you're not part of that program. It's the exact opposite of what they're doing. And then harm reduction, where they hand out fentanyl needles and crack pipes, and they are doing it in the name of harm reduction and solving the homeless problem. It's the exact opposite of what they're doing. And then the whole green energy agenda that they're pushing, it's the exact opposite of what they're doing, where our energy bills are skyrocketing, and this stuff is catastrophic for the environment. This stuff is terrible for the environment. And they've tricked everybody into thinking that this is what needs to be done in the name of environmentalism, climate change. They've sold everybody on this idea that these windmills and these solar panels are what's going to save us, when all this stuff is, these windmills, they break down after 20, 25 years, and you have nowhere to bury you have to bury the giant blades for them. The photovoltaic panels that are made out of all sorts of horrible chemicals that, you know, it requires cobalt to get the cobalt, silver, and all sorts of materials that are not good for the environment. The windmills that are killing whales, killing birds, all sorts of other animals. I feel like I'm supposed to be exposing all of this to the best of my ability, and everything's forcing me in this direction. So that was a really long-winded way of saying this is what I'm doing now. I still apply for jobs every day. I still, go through all of that stuff, but I have been canceled, you guys. Like, I don't think you guys really understand, and it wears on you getting turned down or just getting ghosted by companies that you've interviewed with, or you think everything went great for remedial work. It sucks. It freaking sucks. And yeah, so that's what I'm doing. I'm doing this, still looking for other stuff, but yeah, this is what I'm doing. This is what I feel like I'm supposed to be doing. So yeah, I'm putting everything I have into it. And yeah, that's that. I probably didn't state all of that super well, but I think you guys get where I'm coming from. So I'll sort of leave it there. The RGS, maybe a goofball, but not retarded. Yeah, retarded goofball. Casey Martin. Yes, I can. The speaking engagements in Monterey. I'm not speaking. Well, I might be. I don't know. He sort of tells me last moment. It's this, the scientist, his name is Michael Hogan, and it's out in Monterey. Shit, I have the invite. Let me pull it up on my phone here. I got the tickets yesterday. So I've been trying to, I direct message Michael Schellenberger all the time. He's never responded because I really want to get him to one of these events. But sorry, folks. Blame this on Casey Martin. Okay. That's not it. It's a CASI event, CASI. Why won't it give me the address? It's out in Monterey. Let's see. Okay. 104 West Carmel Valley Boulevard. If you guys go to CASI.com, CASI, I should have had this pulled up, but I don't. You guys can actually, I would love to see you guys there. I'll talk about it tomorrow night. I'm streaming. I'm going to try to stream again every night for the foreseeable future. Yeah, so I'll be at that event, but yeah, that's my main focus of the night. Tonight's going to be sort of a hodgepodge show. I feel rusty too. I've been out of it, so I'll get right into it. Unless you guys got some more questions. Let's see. Yeah, all right. I'll let you guys here. Hi, Colin. How's it going? All right, yeah. If you guys want to hit that like button, that's always helpful as well. All right, well, let's get right into some stuff, shall we? So yeah, if you guys are out in Monterey, go to the CASI website, CASI, and oh, geez. Yeah, I am rusty, folks. No, I wanted to talk about all sorts of stuff tonight. I wasn't actually planning on doing an offshore wind episode tonight, but there's so much stuff to cover that I just decided I'd talk about it at least a little bit. And this is it's like a peer-reviewed paper that the gentleman Michael Hogan that I spoke with last night wrote. And, he's got all sorts of sources cited and everything. And, well, I guess that's what I should be talking about here. So, oh, boy. Scarlett, completely unnecessary. Sorry. She doesn't normally do that. All right, let's go over to Michael Hogan here. So let's talk about, we're going to start with offshore wind and how many problems there are with it. Let's see. All right. You guys aren't going to follow along, so I'll get out of a different screen. Really? Oh, there's dogs outside, guys. So Scarlett might be barking at you. All right. Well, oh, you found it. Yeah. CASICalifornia.org. Thank you, Casey Martin. I appreciate that. Yeah, if you guys want to go, it'll be a panel of people talking about everything that has to do with offshore wind and what they plan on doing. And what they plan on doing it's insane. And if you're a Californian, you know how expensive energy has already gotten. This is going to double energy from what it is now over the next 5 years. Gavin Newsom's trying to do this whole 100% or this, net zero by 2035 or 2030 or whatever, which happens to align perfectly with the UN Agenda 2030 crap. Scarlett, honestly, jeez, killing me tonight. It's something like 3% of our energy comes from renewable resources, renewable, green energy sources, which they don't include natural gas in that. They don't include nuclear in that. They don't include, we don't even burn very much, if any, coal-fired plants. We don't do that anymore, which coal-fired plants are terrible for the environment. But California is natural gas rich. We have tons of hydrothermal. We have tons of hydroelectric, and they're moving away from all of that, and they want to build all these windmills. And when you dig into it, the windmills, the photovoltaic panels, they say that they're doing it to fight back against big gas and all that kind of stuff. But when you follow the money, you got companies like Orlo and BP that are behind all of this, that have just pivoted over to this new thing because they know that's what Biden is pushing and what Gavin Newsom's pushing. So big oil they're just rebranding. That's all they're doing. And when you look into it further, you see it's just like any other NGO where they donate tons of money to their campaigns and then they get these contracts, and it's this big circular thing where there isn't any environmental advantage for doing it. And it's a huge upfront cost that we're all going to have to pay for. They say, no, it's government subsidies and all that kind of crap. Well, if you guys gone to the store lately, you guys notice that inflation is insane. You can't just print money to pay for all this stuff. It's a huge upfront cost. So we pay for it one way or the other. And then when you don't have battery power to store the excess energy, or when there is no wind and these turbines are down, or when there's a big problem with offshore wind is when there's excess wind. They have to shut down the windmills because if they start spinning too fast, they'll just fly apart. And the technology is not there, but they're trying to cram this down everybody's throat. Sorry, I'll just read some of Hogan's article here. So one of the main things that I want to talk about from it is, all right, the carbon footprint aspect of it. It's all done in the name of climate change. And so this is called, he just had the offshore wind power. And this is from the Encyclopedia of Earth. If you go to his website, it's the Encyclopedia of Earth website. This is a paper that he wrote, very well cited, very long paper, but the carbon footprint aspect of it, all of this is done in the name of climate change. And it's like the audacity to think that California alone can make even a dent by reducing the carbon. But we'll see what he has to say here. So he says, the U.S. Bureau of Energy Management has stated that wind will provide a net benefit to carbon emissions reduction and hence climate impact. In fact, due to the massive shipping activity in servicing and maintaining offshore wind, the net impact over the life cycle are a net detriment to carbon emissions. Furthermore, the intermittency of offshore wind adds additional carbon emissions to overall power generation contribution to the electric grid. The UK, so they're doing a lot of this in the UK, and Michael Hogan has a home over in the UK, and he's seen his energy skyrocket. And then all of a sudden, when there's no wind, there's no power. The UK's climate change committee failing was highlighted by Sir Christopher Lewinwell Smith, the leader of the Royal Society study into the net zero energy system. It can now be revealed that the same error is also being made by the National Infrastructure Commission and the UK National Grid ESO. Net Zero Watch Director Andrew Monford stated, Sir Christopher I can't say his name. Sir Christopher Smith has highlighted the deficiency of the models in the Climate Change Committee and the National Infrastructure Commission and the National Grid ESO have confirmed to me in writing that their models contain the same mistake. Monteford also notes that Sir Christopher has also publicly admitted that the Royal Society's own models contain a similar deficiency. Similar deficiency. Montford further elaborated. We have well-funded national institutions all over which have failed to model the 2050 energy system correctly, and all of them in ways that understate the cost of net zero. It's a remarkable coincidence. Montford asserted that the Net Zero Watch will publish a cost estimate that corrects these errors and shows the alarming effect on UK consumer bills. Manufacturing processes also contribute to the carbon footprint and add enormous greenhouse gas volumes to the life cycle of wind power generation. One analysis concluded offshore wind turbines require 14 times as much raw materials per megawatt as a modern combined cycle natural gas power plant. Yet only the latter generates electricity reliably and affordably and doesn't require backup. Add in the batteries and extra transmission lines for offshore wind power, and we are talking about 20 to 30 times more metals, concrete, and other materials, which is funny because the whole UN Agenda 2030 crap, it shows how they want to reduce concrete production because that process releases carbon into the air. So you got the production of the windmills themselves, these big giant fiberglass blades, the motors that have tons of gear oil in them, and then you've got the transmission lines that they have to convert from alternating current to direct current. So you got all these offshore windmills that are daisy chained together, and the power lines, the power cables have a big giant electromagnetic field around them that cause disturbances. That's why rats chew on power cables under your houses. They're attracted to them. Well, that affects the aquatic life, but they could also get snagged on boats. All these windmills are daisy chained together, and then there's one big like trunk that goes to a platform that has the big giant AC to DC converters, which generate a ton of heat. And they use seawater to cool them. Well, then that warm water is dumped right back into the ocean, and under the platform, you get warmer water than the rest of the surrounding ocean. And then from there, you have a cable that goes onshore where you're going to need these big giant batteries, to store the energy when there's extra energy being produced and it's available for when there's no wind, all that kind of stuff. So you have loss in the power lines, you have the climate footprint that it's going to cause just to create these windmills, and then you have the materials that are going into the batteries as well, and you get loss in the transmission lines. The whole thing it's a nightmare. Just we already, especially with California, with how nutrient rich our whole state is, and how we have natural gas in abundance, and natural gas burns a whole hell of a lot cleaner, and we just don't want to use it for whatever reason. Let's see, go back here. Oh yeah, Greenleaf Forward, he's here. You guys should follow his Substack. He's a lot to read there. Oh yeah, is that what you just linked there? Your Substack? You guys go to Substack, follow Greenleaf Forward there because he's got a lot of good stuff in there. But all of this crap isn't being done in the name of the environment, like they're saying. It's just get into all the whales and everything, all the horrible stuff that it's going to do. Somehow I got all out of order here. All right. Well, let's go to how all this stuff kind of started. Back in the day, if you said climate change, you were sort of looked at as kooky back in the 80s. But now it's been sold as, if you say that climate change isn't actually because of humans burning fossil fuels, and they name even the term fossil fuels is a giant freaking scam. It's made to seem like fossil fuel, like we're going to run out at a certain point, and that is now being debated. Doesn't look like it looks like the natural crude oil is something that the earth naturally produces. It's not fossils that there's a finite amount of. That's the science is still out on that one. I'm not a scientist, but it does not appear that fossil fuels is these aren't fossil fuels. It's a naturally crude oil is naturally occurring, and well, all right, let's watch some videos on this. People that can speak to it way better than I can, because I'm just sort of babbling here. So let's I clipped this from a documentary that I was watching a couple days ago. Go over, listen to how all this climate crap started and how they got so many people to come to an agreement, so many scientists to come to an agreement that this is climate change is human made, and it's the world's biggest problem that we have to address immediately. How did so many scientists come to that consensus?
Until the 1980s, global warming was little more than an eccentric scare story put about by radical environmentalists. But then the cause was picked up by an ambitious young senator, Al Gore, who would soon become vice president. $1 billion a year of public money was made available for research into climate change. This quickly rose to $2 billion.
Up to that level.
Academic researchers in various disciplines began to apply for this climate funding.
If you want to qualify for money that's labeled climate, well, you take whatever you're doing and you add a little bit of climate speak to it, and away you go.
You're dealing with the sexual habits of cockroaches. You'll add, and the impact of climate.
So all I have to do is add a little wrinkle to my grant application to explain how, well, I'm worried that climate change will mean the death of all the maple trees. And so right away you qualify for funding.
Academics of every kind lined up for climate funding. Climate became an exciting new area of interest for sociologists, biologists, professors of English literature, lecturers in gender studies, and many more.
And it also served to create a community. I mean, you know, you've become a climate scientist now, even though you know nothing about the physics of climate.
Thousands of papers were published on climate change and prostitution, climate change and beer, climate change and the Black Death, climate change and disability, climate change and video games, and everything else imaginable.
So you guys following here? So all of a sudden, the government was like, yeah, we'll give you guys funding as long as it's for climate change. So, and if you guys just kind of sort of sprinkle climate change into whatever paper you're writing, well, you are now a climate scientist and you get funding. Weird. Now all these scientists are talking about climate change in their papers, even though this has nothing to do with climate change.
On an almost comical list of studies out there, just do a Google search on climate change and everything comes up.
Few of these papers ever questioned whether climate change was actually true.
After you've done the research and you write the paper up, sometimes you'll find there's no effect at all from climate, but you still have to say in your papers, oh yes, climate change is real, and we just need to study this some more.
So that's, they call it burying the lead, right? You do this big, long paper talking about, you know, you put in the headline how climate change is real, and then it'll be in the first few sentences, and then you get to the bottom of the paper, and it's like, after all of this research, there's no conclusive data that climate change is actually affecting trans people. Like, you know, it'll be the most, they relate things that have no relation whatsoever, and it's all just to get the funding. I want to get my hands on some of these insane papers. This is actually kind of how James Lindsay got into writing the most insane peer-reviewed papers, because they call them academic papers, but all it really is writing a bunch of nonsense to get their funding.
So few of these so-called climate studies challenged the idea of climate change. It was declared that there was a scientific consensus. Climate change must be true. Climate also became a new focus for government-funded research bodies.
Scientific research in the United States tends to be dominantly funded by government grants. And so whatever government grants are offered sort of determine much of the science being done.
Well, how about that? Government starts offering a bunch of money for climate change research, and then everything becomes climate change research, no matter what you're researching. And poof, you're a climate scientist, and everybody's in agreement that that's what's happening. Well, fast forward 30 years. It's been 30 years of this crap. Remember, it used to be called global warming? I don't call it that anymore. I wonder why. All right, here's another one from Nigel Farage talking about this, because this is over in the UK. They have deployed this on a much larger scale than we have in the US, but this is what we plan on doing right out in Morro Bay, right here in California. You guys are going to see this coming soon. And there isn't any legislation being passed on this. They're just doing it. So I don't know how to stop it. The only way to stop it is if a bunch of people get really pissed and put up a big giant fight about it. And talking with my buddy Michael last night, I'm like, how do we sell this to the public that people need to be up in arms about it? Because there's huge money behind this and they're going to jam it through. There's billions of dollars at stake for these projects to happen. That the ship's got to be built, the windmill's got to be built, the battery backup's got to be built. It's tons of money, and it's all poof, like printed out of nowhere money, government money. This isn't the market creating all of this stuff, but they're going to jam it through. And so how do we stop it? I honestly don't know. But everyone needs to be aware that their energy is going to skyrocket. Your energy is going to be the cost of rent. It's not sustainable at all. It's insane what they plan on doing.
A total lack of scrutiny in this area, a refusal to criticize or condemn in any way practices that go on within this industry. And that's because of the consensus view. Don't forget that the 2019 piece of legislation committing us to net zero went through the Houses of Parliament without a vote. Wasn't even a debate. Just nodded through because everyone agrees.
Greenleaf Forward, don't worry about spamming the chat. I like it when you guys talk to me. And no, your links are always welcome. You guys click on the stuff Greenleaf Forward's sharing.
So yeah, at every level, we've been ripped off by this industry from day one. It's been a very little economic benefit. The theory of wind energy is great. The practice is, as I say, it's intermittent. It needs subsidy. It's damned expensive. And we're putting ourselves at a huge disadvantage by going down this route. A total lack of...
Remember what happened with Texas a few years ago? They had that winter, and it froze their wind turbines. The wind turbines weren't spinning. If the turbines stop spinning, energy stops being produced. And you guys have heard the phrase, it's a lot of moving parts. It's quite literally a lot of moving parts. There's so many things that can go wrong with this, and they are trying to make us completely reliant on this technology. And this sends my tinfoil brain into a whole other direction. It's, what is the real objective here? What are they really trying to do? I won't get too tinfoily there. But, and servicing these things. So the onshore windmills have enough problems already. You guys see wind turbines breaking all the time, not spinning. The ones that they plan on putting out in the ocean are 2 to 3 times the size of the ones that are on land. You guys see how big those things are. We're talking about windmills that are the size of the Eiffel Tower. If you guys, any of you guys that live in coastal regions, you know how often, like, if you guys go to Santa Cruz, the buildings that are right on the ocean, that are right on, West Cliff Boulevard or East Cliff Boulevard, how often they have to paint those buildings because it's basically a sand blaster, a salt blaster. Salt water is so terrible for any sort of moving parts, and there's so much maintenance involved with these wind turbines. And then if they're out in deep water, in really windy environments and really choppy land or choppy water, it's hard to get to them. And you got to build these big giant ships. And these big giant ships have problems on the ships themselves affect, like mama whales when they give birth and they want to hug the ocean. And then you got these big giant ships coming in and disturbing them. And then the mama whale has to go farther out, making their babies susceptible to predators. There's so many environmental problems with this stuff. Keep going. This is from CBS. This is from CBS Mornings. This is another thing that I clipped really quick.
In 2021, Ørsted's North American CEO.
Did you hear that? Ørsted, the used to be a fuel, a big oil company, and they pivoted to this because they knew that's where the money was. It's the same players. It's the same people from big oil. And Gavin acts like he's these big oil evil doers. And it's the same people behind all of this stuff.
David Hardy took us to see the largest offshore wind farm in the U.S. It's just 5 turbines near Rhode Island. Right now, the U.S. produces a paltry 42 megawatts of offshore wind power.
So just 5. That's it. 5 wind turbines. And it's causing tons of problems.
But the Biden administration is aiming for 30,000 megawatts by 2030, enough to power more than 10 million homes. In 20...
So you hear that? The Biden administration. This is all being jammed down from the top. And this is all just money they're printing out of thin air to fund all this stuff. When they say, oh, it's no upfront cost to the consumer. That's not what's going to happen. So your energy will skyrocket over time because there's so much extra associated cost with the maintenance, the transmission of this power. So your energy bills are going to skyrocket and your dollar is going to be worth less because they're going to print tons of dollars to pay for all this junk. It's so frustrating. And so, states like California, where energy, gas, all the stuff should be the cheapest, it's going to be the most expensive here because we're the ones that can do the offshore wind crap. And the government's going to force us to get our power from this. So frustrating. I put out a little rant about this a few weeks ago, maybe a month or two ago, and Dr. Hamedi decided to do a little write-up on it and quote tweet me. So this is what he had to say. I wanted to elaborate on my criticism of Newsom / Kounalakis off. That's our what is it? Lieutenant Governor Kounalakis. She's the lady that they're going to try to install as the next governor. I wanted to elaborate on my criticisms of Newsom and Kounalakis offshore wind schemes so that we can have an objective, not a political discussion on the issue. I care deeply about the environment, want clean air and water, but also strongly believe that we must consider, as Newsom failed to do so with COVID, the risk-benefit ratio of every mitigation measure. So that's the thing too, is everybody that's pushing all this stuff, they're the same people that were saying safe and effective, and everybody has to take these vaccines. That's how we get through COVID. It's the same people saying this crap. In terms of offshore wind, the risk-benefit analysis doesn't make any sense. Yes, offshore wind doesn't immediately produce carbon emissions that you can see and measure. And yes, the wind can blow at night when the sun isn't shining on solar panels, and solar panels are ineffective. But to think that these benefits aren't major risks to costs is absolutely ignorant and well-known facts. Is absolutely ignorant of well-known facts. Let's discuss them below. Sorry, now my dog is drinking a ton of water and she's distracting me. She is killing me tonight. Scarlett, honestly, she doesn't drink water all day and then she waits for me to start live streaming and decides to go drink a whole bucket of water. Okay. Cost of offshore wind energy. Initial capital investment. Offshore wind farms require significant upfront investment, so much that electric utilities are counting on California taxpayers to front the cash and then pay them back via rate increases that will make power way more expensive than it already is. Yeah, so we will end up paying the upfront costs one way or the other. Just before EVs are mandated, so electric vehicles, just before electric vehicles are mandated for all, this includes the cost of manufacturing and installing turbines, underwater cables, not cheap, and other infrastructure. The investment also involves anchoring deep into the ocean floor. Is that clean? So it's the ones that they plan on doing out in deep water, they won't be anchoring into the floor. They'll be doing like these floating platforms similar to the oil rigs. There's so many problems. There's lots of different ways that they do these windmills, and not all of them are anchored into the ocean floor. And we're going to see crazy wind events where you see these big giant Eiffel Tower sized windmills falling over into the sea while they're spinning. You're going to see stuff like this. Maintenance and operating in a maritime environment makes maintenance more challenging and costly compared to onshore wind farms. If you live near the coast, you know that everything metal, which is anything that produces or conducts electricity, rusts quickly. It's like I was saying, just salt water is awful. Plastics corrode the salt water. I think he's meant to say by salt water. Everything decays rapidly, and things that move a lot, like windmills, eventually fall apart and need repairs and replacements. That's hard enough on land, where you will place cranes in the middle of the ocean, and how much will that cost? So these things are only supposed to last 20 to 25 years when they're on land before they need to be replaced. Nothing about this makes sense from an economic standpoint or from an environmental standpoint. It doesn't make any sense. When you lay it all out, it makes zero sense to deploy all of this stuff, which with the veracity that they're doing so, it doesn't make any financial sense. It doesn't make any environmental sense. So why are they really doing it? Because it's going to line pockets, just like the freaking high-speed rail to nowhere. It's the same crap. It's creating a bunch of projects for the sake of creating a bunch of projects because it lines people's pockets with government money that they print out of nowhere. It's insane. Transmission infrastructure. Connecting offshore wind farms to power grid often requires substantial investment and undersea cabling and grid upgrades. That means digging up the ocean floor with very deep, long trenches that can accommodate the cables and or laying miles of cables on the ocean's surface. This isn't cheap, nor is it without massive environmental harm. Do you think the coral, fish, dolphins, whales are going to thrive in such an environment? Decommission. So it's that him laying down the cables is one thing that they do. They dig these big giant trenches similar to on land. Underwater, they dig these big giant trenches, lay the cables, and then they cover them back up, and they eventually become uncovered. But you can't do that really in deep water. So you end up with having these big giant floating windmills that are daisy chained together, and the cables are just free floating in the water. And they got this big giant electromagnetic field around them that is going to disrupt, dolphins, whales that use echolocation. And then there's the actual, it doesn't matter so much if they're not anchored to the seafloor, but the revolution of the windmills themselves, they make this pounding sound. And the echolocation that they have to use to map the seafloor before they even start deploying these windmills, that messes up the whales too. They're using this equipment on the boats that, they sonar. You send down a frequency and it hits the ocean floor and bounces back, and that's how they map the seafloor. That messes with all these whales that use echolocation, even though they say it's not. Decommissioning costs. Eventually, offshore wind farms will need to be decommissioned, which can be a complex and expensive process. Which would just imagine what that will entail. Again, it's already tough enough on land. Environmental impacts. Marine ecosystems installation of turbines can disrupt maritime life. The noise and vibrations during construction and operation can affect marine species, particular mammals like whales and dolphins. See above. Bird and bat fatalities. Like onshore wind farms, there's lots of risks to birds and bats, although the exact impact varies based on location and species. Visual impact. So that's the other thing too, is all these people that said we don't want those big giant oil rigs off our shore, now all of a sudden they're fine with windmills? I don't think they are. Offshore wind farms can alter the visual landscape of coastal areas, which will devastate one of the greatest treasures of our stunning ocean views. This alone is a crime. Fishing industry impact. Offshore wind farms can interfere with commercial fishing routes and practices, potentially impacting local economies. Shipping lane interference. This also may pose a navigational hazard or interfere with shipping lanes, requiring careful planning and coordination. Numerous East Coast wind plans like Empire are now being canceled for these reasons. We must do the same before we are past the point of no return. It's irresponsible and outright criminal to do this. If Newsom and Kounalakis cared one bit about the state and climate, they would have realized by now. They do realize this isn't about the environment. It can't be, because this stuff isn't hard. These aren't hard concepts to understand. When you lay out all the potential problems, it's just like, wait a minute, okay, this doesn't make any financial sense. And then it's like, oh, hey, look at all the birds, dolphins, marine life, coral, everything. The environmental impact for species in the ocean. And then there's what about when ship breaks? What about when a windmill falls into the ocean that's filled with gear oil, which will ultimately happen? It's so many problems with all of this shit. Drives me crazy. Keep going here. Yeah, and there's the lobsters. Lobsters are being deformed and left unable to swim because of the electromagnetic fields from underwater sea wind farm power cables. This also impacts the crabs. Interesting. That was an article that I was going to read about it, but I have too much other stuff I want to get through. All right. I think that's done with that. Let's go check the chat here. So it's not just the wind farms. There's so many other. So they, green energy. So they want solar too, and then the batteries. So the wind farms, the solar, and the batteries, all which have huge environmental consequences. And well, I'm sure many of you guys saw this pop up on this went viral the last few days, but this is a story that's been around for a few years. So this is from Basin and Range Watch. 4,200 Joshua trees are scheduled to be removed and replaced by solar panels for the Aratina Solar Project near Barron, California in June of this year. So very soon, guys, they will not be salvaged, but funds based on the size of the tree will be placed in a mitigation bank, whatever the hell that means. Another slush fund. We'll go to that article. Check them in the chat really quick here. Danger. What if in the 70s they did some shit to heat up the planet because they thought we would freeze and end up fucking up? Now they want us to cool the planet. A lot of scientists are, well, that's the whole other thing, right? We talked about this the episode that I did about the chemtrails, them putting the salt crystals and the silver dioxide in the air to reflect sunlight because they want to cool the planet. So yeah, I don't know. I don't know, man. Our planet, people seem to do better when it's warm. I don't think why would we want to cool the planet? The RGS wind turbines. Okay, no, I'm not reading that. Yet giant programs that rob taxpayer money and enrich politicians and their cronies. Yes. Kounalakis is even more insane than Newsom. Yes, she is. She's insane. Casey Martin. My theory is haphazardly placed wind farms are actually changing the climate by shifting and slowing wind patterns, potentially turning rainforests into deserts. If the butterfly flaps his wings. Whole chaos theory, is that it? All right, let's keep going here. All right, so let's go over to this. Well, this is where they want to put the wind farms. This picture here, or solar. Sorry, it's the solar panels. So this big giant area they want to fill with all these solar panels. And one of the much like the whale habitats being destroyed by wind farms, well, you got the desert tortoise, the desert tortoise in this area too. So this is all the way back from October of 2021. Western Joshua trees destroyed for solar project development. So it looks like they plan on ripping out more Joshua trees. And, you know, again, this is all done in the name of environmentalism. It's the exact opposite. They're destroying the environment in the name of environmentalism. October 10th, 2021, Mojave, California, the destruction of a high-value, important West Mojave desert lands, biodiverse regions, and areas with recreational value to local communities is ongoing and continuing, unfortunately. Much of this area is on private lands in Kern County. Western Joshua trees were supposed to be protected as the California populations of this unique tree, the yucca tree, were voted voted to be conserved under the California Endangered Species Act until a final decision was made by the state agencies. Yet great investigative reporting by 23 ABC News out of Bakersfield uncovered Joshua trees ongoing bulldozing, possibly for solar projects. Oh, okay, so they're doing it without even talking about it. So, yeah, this is a really long article. You guys can, I'll put it in the chat here. I think if I put it in the chat, you guys will be able to click on it. Exactly, Danger. I thought Joshua trees were protected. Well, it's always exceptions to rules if you're government, right? All right, so I put this article in the chat here. If you guys want to click on it, it's a pretty long article, but yeah, they want to destroy the desert. So they want to destroy the oceans. They want to destroy the desert. No big deal. All right, keep going here. So much like the windmills, there's huge problems with these big giant photovoltaic panel farms that they have. Funny thing is, my senior year in high school term paper was about photovoltaic panels, and I was of the mindset that that's going to save us, because I totally bought into the whole, we called it global warming back then, and I bought into the fossil fuels thing, and I was like, we got to do this. We got to switch to solar and wind power and all this stuff. This is way back in 2001. And my whole term paper, I'll tell you how I came up with the idea, but my whole term paper, I did like weeks and weeks of research on this stuff, and I learned all about it. And I was just like, this stuff's boring. I don't want to just write down a bunch of like specs and, numbers and crap like that and how it works. And I was like, I want a different angle of this. So my whole research paper was, instead, we have to make this cool. We have to make it the cool thing to do, to sell it to the public. And what's crazy is that's what's happening. Like, that's what they did. They made this hip. They made all of the crazy liberals think that this is like the cool thing to do, the green thing to do. And they stole my idea. They stole my horrible idea, you guys. All right, let's talk about solar panels now and what they are susceptible to. Oops. Sorry, folks. All right. So, hailstorm destroying solar panels in Nebraska. Did you guys hear about this one?
Hailstorm disaster in Nebraska, USA, reacted immediately and turned a multi-million-dollar investment, a solar park, into a pile of toxic debris. Within minutes, hail destroyed 14,000 solar panels with a total capacity of 5.2 megawatts. The complex was planned by the investors to produce green energy for 25 years, but in reality, it only made it to 4 years. Hailstorm
I wonder if the offshore wind project will be similar. With, just look at one wind turbine, how long it'll take for that thing to need to be decommissioned that's out on the ocean. The UK is going to be a great example of this. We're going to see, probably about 4 years old now, the wind farms that they put out that they did off the coast of, is it in Wales that they're doing it? I'm not sure exactly where they're doing it in the UK, but it's not their electricity prices skyrocketed, and it's not good. I'm going to be very shocked. I will be shocked to see if all these wind turbines make it to 10 years, the ones that are going to be deployed on the ocean. There's a better look at this is that same wind farm or same solar farm and what the hailstorm did to it. This is helicopter footage of it. I mean, look how much these look like wetlands too. So, I mean, even if these things weren't destroyed and they were still producing energy, I mean, how much damage did this can't be good for the environment and for the animals that used to graze in this area. It can't be good. I mean, that entire thing is a wasteland now. Like all of that, all those panels either need to be completely decommissioned or replaced or repaired. It's a freaking catastrophe. And then you go over to India, and something very similar happened. They had these floating ones over water. And it looks like they had a big storm that destroyed all these. They're trying to reinvent the wheel. I mean, it's not like there isn't oil leaks and, you know, the Exxon Valdez disaster and all that kind of stuff. But now, like, we're still going to have to use oil, and we still have the potential for those types of disasters, and you're just stacking other potential disasters on top of those. It's just trying to reinvent the wheel. It's kind of insane to me, but I guess that's what we're doing. All right, let's keep going here. Let's talk about California's specific green energy policies here. Check them at the chat really quick. Danger, one well-placed meteor will take out all your solar panel. Well, that'd be a pretty lucky strike, though, wouldn't it? Casey Martin, a floating solar farm got wrecked by a storm in India, I think. Yeah. Well, looks like you called that one, didn't you? The RGS, Virginia has already started its offshore windmill project. Wonderful. And yeah, and the people don't have any vote on this. It's just, there's no legislation that needs to be passed. They're just doing it. How is it legal? They're just doing it. That Gavin Newsom declares that 60% of our energy right now has to be through green energy resources. And then by a certain date, 80%. And then by another date, 100%. No more gas. No more gas-powered cars. It's for what? And again, you can't even prove that this is going to have any sort of carbon reduction and help global warming or climate change in any way. It's insane. There's no economic reason behind this. There's no environmental reason behind this. It's all to line people's pockets. Let's go to this. This was a good little interview. Go to California Insider here. We'll just listen to the preview. This is Suzanne Shelley. Yeah, she's talking about some of the insanity that they want to do. You guys should go over to California Insider and watch this one.
California politicians have been passing laws mandating more and more renewable energy and celebrating that we're hitting our targets. But if you look at what we really use to generate electricity in California, it's mostly natural gas. It's mostly fossil fuels. And sometimes it's imported electricity from other states. And the reason for this is for all renewables, they only provide maybe 30% of what we need. At night, far less, because it's mostly solar. And by the time the sun goes down, solar energy is at zero. And people say, oh, well, batteries. Well, batteries. Maybe 3% of the energy we're using at night comes from batteries, and they run out by
Cali girl, nice to see you.
midnight. So what are we running the state of California on? When you plug your electric vehicle into your wall charger, it's charging on natural gas. Also nuclear, large hydroelectric, and imported electricity. That's what's running California. So it's a fantasy that we can go to 100% renewable. We can only go to 100% renewable if it's never summer and it's never night. I don't think we're on that planet. California.
That doesn't sound very encouraging, does it, guys? Keep going here. So similar to the funding, the climate change funding. So they start sprinkling climate change into all these different academic papers where it makes no sense to talk about climate change. You know, the effect of climate change on the trans community, all that kind of crap, where it's just a bunch of gobbledygook. Speaking of gobbledygook, let's listen to this guy talk. Talk about just this is a bunch of commie gobbledygook. Listen to him talk. This is your right to green energy, basically.
The author of this proposal, Assemblyman Isaac Bryan, and supporters say low-income Black and brown communities are disproportionately impacted by poor environmental management. They say this measure would give the state a foundation for its environmental efforts. California is in the process of trying to phase out its use of oil and gas within the next 2 decades. Supporters of this constitutional amendment note a handful of other states already have something similar, or what's called green amendments.
In California, we beat our chest as climate champions, as leaders. We do it nationally, we do it globally, but we are behind other states. Our people do not have a fundamental right to clean air, clean water, and a healthy environment. But we can change that, and we're going to change that.
The author of this
What? That's funny. They talk about a fundamental right to clean energy. And these are the same people that say you don't have a right to defend yourself, like actual rights. You don't have the right. These are the people that don't want you to have the right to have private property, that kind of crap. These people are psychopaths. They want to phase out gas in the next 20 years. 20 years isn't a long time. It's what they plan on doing is insane. So I just Googled earlier, how clean is natural gas? Because we have a ton of natural gas here in California. And again, we have tons of rivers, we could be doing hydroelectric. We could be doing natural gas, geothermal as well. We could build nuclear power plants. We don't have to decommission our last one. And Gavin, it was supposed to be decommissioned this year, from my understanding, but Gavin probably saw that that would think your energy is expensive now. Imagine how much it would be if they shut off the last nuclear plant in California. We should be looking at potentially building another nuclear power plant, a state-of-the-art nuclear power plant. But that's a faux pas to talk about here in California. But I just Googled, how clean is natural gas earlier, and then this is what came up. What are the environmental implications of using natural gas as an energy source? Natural gas is considered cleaner burning fuel compared to other fossil fuels like coal and oil. It emits fewer unwanted byproducts and contaminants when burned. Ideal combustion of natural gas produces carbon and hydrogen in the fuel, plus oxygen in the air, resulting in water and carbon dioxide as the main byproducts. Oh, okay. While it's unlikely to achieve 100% ideal combustion, natural gas tends to be closer to it compared to other fossil fuels. However, natural gas is not entirely clean. It still produces carbon dioxide, which is a greenhouse gas contributing to climate change. And again, that's how all this stuff is sold. You know, it's, do you think the production of these giant windmill blades themselves isn't contributing to CO2? And then when they have to be decommissioned, if they're chopping up all of these blades to bury them, and then the transportation of these blades using diesel, like what is the offset there? It's instead, we have natural gas that is, I mean, ready to go. We have this infrastructure in place already, and they just want to decommission it and get rid of stuff that's already working. And this shit is bonkers. Additionally, natural gas production and transportation processes can lead to methane leaks, which are a potential greenhouse gas. Well, yeah, but it is coming out. So methane leaks, that gas that's naturally occurring in the earth, and it gets released into the air. They'll say climate change. Like that has nothing to do. If people weren't here, that would happen. You know, there's over here in the Santa Cruz Mountains, there used to be a tunnel that was bored through the Santa Cruz Mountains for the old steam train that went through there. And the narrow gauge steam train. There was a 2-mile tunnel called Wright's Tunnel. It was freaking, the whole thing was built by Chinese laborers, and they had 2 giant explosions when they were building it, killing hundreds of people. And they hit pockets of methane gas. We have methane gas right here in the Santa Cruz Mountains that we could tap into. California is so rich with natural resources, and we don't use them. And we demonize them. It's insane. While natural gas is considered cleaner burning fuel, it is essential to consider the entire life cycle of natural gas production, transportation, and use. Oh, but you don't got to consider the life cycle of windmills, windmill production, and transportation and use. It's the same logic applies. The clean aspect of natural gas refers to its combustion products, but the extraction, processing, and transportation process can have significant environmental damages. What, the windmill can't? It's the exact same argument, and that has heavier impacts on the environment. It's insane. In summary, natural gas is a cleaner burning fuel compared to other fossil fuels, but it's not entirely clean. Its environmental impacts depends on the entire life cycle of its production, transportation, and use. So they can say all of that stuff and not apply that same logic to the production, transportation, and use of windmills. Or photovoltaic panels. It's asinine. Asinine is what it is. Sorry, you guys didn't need to be looking at what I was sharing, but this is it. That's what I was reading. Okay, I'll go over to Louis B. Aramborough, and he says, California mostly powered by petroleum and natural gas. Dose of reality. Show this image he's got here. So it looks like, yeah, we get 25%. 25% of our energy comes from natural gas, and then petroleum is 55%. Renewable energy right now is 3.2%. They want to have 100% of California's energy come from renewable energy by 2035. 11 years, you guys. How is that possible? This is going to end in catastrophe. This whole thing is insane. All right, this This is from Just the Facts. It says, solar is far more expensive than natural gas, and this is a major reason why electricity prices in California are 94% above the national average. Also, solar subsidies enrich green energy investors in China while impoverishing U.S. citizens. He cites his sources here. This is from Just Facts Daily. Prices of electricity in California and the U.S. Okay. Let's just look at this quick graph here. All right. So average retail price of electricity, all sectors. And then, so the blue line is the U.S. average, and you can see around 2020 there's a slight uptick. When Biden gets into office, when he starts implementing all these green energy policies, you see a slight uptick nationally, but back in about 2016 in California, you see this thing ramping up severely. California has always been more expensive for whatever reason, even though we are way more energy rich than any other state, I believe. For some reason, we pay the highest prices. And it has just skyrocketed. In 2020, it took a really sharp turn up. This is all this is all created. These are all government created problems. It's not because we're having a shortage on anything. It's government created problems. So frustrating. So frustrating. All right. All right. Well, I was just trying to get my somebody tried to assassinate the Saudi crown prince. Interesting. Guess I'll have to look into that. Oh. Saying I lost audio, but that's okay. I wasn't playing any audio anyway. All right, guys. You know what? I was just trying to get back into the swing of things, and I knew that I wanted episode 150 to be like a big deal, but yeah, no, it wasn't. I had taken way too long of a break, and I wanted to come back and talk about something that's been weighing on my mind. That is all of this green energy crap nonsense that they have. I'm going to have somebody that really knows what they're talking about as a guest come on to talk about this stuff because, I'm kind of retarded, and I want an expert to talk to and ask questions about this because there's still some things I don't get. And yeah, I'll be having somebody on very soon to talk about all of this green energy nonsense that they have planned. So that is all I really got for tonight, folks. I'm doing a short episode tonight. Just want to get back in the swing of things. I'll be back tomorrow night. I can tell that I haven't been streaming in a while because my throat hurts. It's funny. Yeah, tomorrow night it'll be more of a regular show. I'll be catching up on stuff. Colin, sorry, man. No, I'm just doing a shorter show tonight. I was down the rabbit hole all day today. I didn't have I didn't put together a really long, drawn out show for tonight. Casey Martin going to try to go to that Cassie event. Awesome. It'll be good to see you there. I'll put up the link to it tomorrow night and talk about it a little bit more. And yeah, maybe I can see some of you guys there. That'd be nice to get more people to that event. I sent an email to a couple of people, but I doubt they'll be there. I've been trying to get Schellenberger's attention for a while. So if you guys know how to get a hold of him, that'd be great. I'd love to talk to him about all this stuff. But yeah, that is all I got here tonight, folks. I apologize. Shorter stream. I'll be back tomorrow. Probably will be a longer 2 to 2.5 hour stream tomorrow night because there's a lot that we got to catch up on. Tons of stuff. Controversial issues to talk about tomorrow night. Not that saying the climate change agenda is a big giant scam. Not that that's not controversial enough, but no, we got to talk about more controversial stuff tomorrow night. And speaking of that, Nick Fuentes is back on Twitter. Kind of a big deal. So he put on a Spaces last night, and a bunch of us discovered Elon's burner account because Nick Fuentes and Elon were basically debating on a Twitter Spaces last night. That was insane. That was insane. So the RGS got to do a live stream of what? The Cassie event? I'll see if Michael will want me to. Matty Bracco? Yeah, really. Yeah. Elon Elon has a burner. Last night that Spaces was crazy. Nick Fuentes and Elon were straight debating back and forth. It was pretty crazy. I'll be talking about that a little bit tomorrow night. I think there's some audio clips floating around from it. Just do a search. So he did back-to-back Spaces. The Krasensteins. So Mario Narwhal's put on a space where, the Krasensteins were on there. But Nick is not straight. No, what's funny is somebody was calling Nick gay. Who was it? What's his name? That senator that got the gay senator. I'm blanking on his name. He was calling Nick Fuentes gay. It was funny. There was two different Spaces. They were back to back. There was like 7 hours total, but the one that Nick put on himself, Elon jumped on with his burner account, and it was pretty crazy. Pretty crazy. Lindsey Graham. No. That's funny. I wonder, Lindsey Graham is gay. All right. Casey Martin, Northside, Tommy Grave, RGS, Cali Girl. Lots of you guys here tonight. Matty Bracco, B Sizzo, Colin, Danger, Wally World. Hopefully I'm missing you guys. It's good to be back. Nice to see you guys. Tomorrow night we'll be talking about my crap that nobody cares about. If you guys, so I signed up for Amazon affiliate links, and if I meant to talk about this tonight, but I forgot. I need to do a much better job at promoting my show, because if I want to do this for a living, I actually have to try to drum up some money. So if you guys go into the show notes, there's products that I might as well pull up at least one. Let's see. We'll go to, so I signed up for Amazon affiliate links, and there's some products that if you use the link in the show description and you purchase the products through that, I get a commission somehow. I don't know how it works. I don't know how much of a commission I get. I don't know, but I decided, okay, if I sign up for this, I'll just plug the stuff that I use, the stuff that I already buy, that I have no affiliation with whatsoever. It's just, this is the stuff I love. So this is the Topo Athletic Terra Venture. This is one of the running shoes that I use. I'm a huge Topo fan. They are, if you guys know Altras, they have a wide toe box. That means there's a better picture of it, but there is, right? Yeah, so this picture. So you guys see how where your toes go is kind of weird. How it allows your toes to splay out like that instead of being all compressed together when you're running. And for me, I have glass ankles. That's really important to me. It gives me much more stability. And the Altra brand, they're one of the companies that do it. And I thought they were the only company that did it until I met another trail runner during a race. And I saw that she was wearing some, and I was like, hey, those aren't Altras. She tells me about them. The reason I can't wear Altras is they're called a zero drop shoe. That means your heel is the same height off the ground as the ball of your foot. And when I wear those shoes, they destroy my calf muscles. I end up getting freaking insane calf cramps and I've torn my calf muscle before because of that. I have short calf muscles or whatever. So these Topos, these ones are either a 5 or a 3 millimeter drop. And that means my heel is 3 millimeters higher than the ball of my foot, which I get the stability without destroying my calves. So that's one shoe. So yeah, I have the links to any of these shoes that I have in my show notes here. They're all great shoes. So that's the TerraVenture. This is the Traverse. This has your heel a little bit higher up off the ground, but also a wide toe box. Love the shoe, fantastic shoe. But yeah, so this shoe, and then some other things that just products that I love that I buy already as they are. This is my running vest. So this is from Ultraspire here. This is the running vest that I like to wear. It's called the Zygos 5.0. It comes with a bladder, a water bladder, and this thing, I like it because you see these strings in the front. They're not. I also have a Nathan pack, which I hate, and it's because it's kind of like the backpack strap material. It doesn't flex at all. These strings, when you're running, like your chest diaphragm's going in and out quite a bit, and I like my pack to be able to sort of flex with my chest as I'm running. So that's why I really like this pack, because it like opens up and closes as I'm breathing. It's much more comfortable. I love this pack. It's fantastic. Great for hiking, great for running. Yeah, so these are just some products that I have links to that I decided that all these products I have they're all in my show notes. If you order through my show notes, I get a cut of it. These are the soft chews that I give to my German Shepherd because she gets all itchy. Yeah, let's go to a different screen so you guys can see a little better. But yeah, these are from Zesty Paws. These, when I give these to my German Shepherd, she doesn't itch as much. It's nice. So yeah. So show notes, all the stuff's in my show notes. I am now a Amazon affiliate. Yeah, if you guys want to order that stuff. So all right, yep, that's about it. Go ahead and hit that like button. Thank you guys so much for hanging out. That is pretty much all I got tonight. You know how we do it. Before we get out of here, we got to read a joke from the greatest book ever written, The Truth About Chuck Norris. Let's see, what do we got tonight? Oh, at least I made it an hour and a half tonight. Yeah, my throat is kind of sore. Oh man, I feel a little bad about making this joke, but we're gonna go for it. All right, Chuck Norris joke of the evening. Hope you guys are ready. Thank you everybody for hanging out. All right, Chuck Norris took 3 of every animal on his ark. Then he called Noah a pussy and roundhouse kicked him in the Minotaur. And on that note, stay Cali based. I didn't even get that joke.